The E46, the most reliable, non-overheating, easy to work on car out there. Okay, maybe not quite.
I'm sure you know the old adage, there's nothing more expensive than a cheap German car. My 2004 BMW 330i is a rolling example of this. While I may have bought the car for 300 bucks, I have spent well north of $5,000 in parts, along with coolant, food, and drinks for those who have been gracious enough to help teach me how to work on cars. Today, I'm going to take you along and show you exactly what it took to get my E46 from this $300 car that was on its way to the junkyard to a somewhat reliable daily driver.
I first spotted the car on Facebook Marketplace, and with all the confidence of somebody who's never turned a wrench before in their lives, thought, head gasket, well, that's $30 part in a weekend job. Surely it wouldn't be that hard, right? Little did I know what I was in for.
With all that excitement that comes with getting your first car, me and my friend went to go pick up the machine that would completely appropriate every spare second of my life for the next 6 months. As we got to the farm where the car was, we started checking it out. And it was a lot worse than I could have even imagined. The car wasn't even in a good enough condition to flat tow it, as the brakes were literally not even on the car. It also had a flat tire. Thanks to Les Schwab though, the tire was patched, and thanks to my friends, we were able to get the brakes put back together. As the sun set on the Idaho potato fields, we hooked the tow hook to the front of this car for the first time of many, and flat towed it all the way home behind my friend's E90.
After getting my first car into its parking spot, it was time to see what I was working with. And needless to say, it was bad. The interior was half missing. The headlights, taillights, and rear windshield were completely smashed, not to mention all the filth that was in the car. Cigarette butts, blown fuses, pretty much everything. To top it all off though, the car did not run or drive.
So as you may have guessed from all of the B-roll and the piece of trash sitting behind me, this car needs a lot of work. Problem is, I don't know exactly what it needs. So let's tear it apart and see exactly what needs to happen to get this thing in tip-top shape.
Before we do anything though, we need to figure out why it isn't running. After some messing around, we found out that we did have compression, or at least enough to start the car, and we did have spark. We also noticed that we had 0 fuel pressure. So to see if the car would run if it had fuel pressure, we threw a couple of squirts of brake cleaner right in the intake, and the car fired right up. So after checking the fuses to see what might have gone wrong, we found out that the fuel pump's fuse was blown. After further examination, the fuel pump was seized, and so obviously there wasn't any fuel pressure. After replacing the fuel pump and the fuse though, the car fired right up to life. And upon starting it, another issue presented itself. The car had a little, well, pretty big accident. That explosion out of the radiator told us all we needed to know about the head gasket, which we were told was bad when buying the car. After some further examination, we realized that the water pump was completely shot, and as is often the case with these older BMWs, the coolant expansion tank had a massive hole in it. These probably led to the overheating of the car and the eventual blowing of said head gasket. While the cooling system was apart, we decided to just nip the issue in the bud and take care of our blown head gasket. This would have been a weekend project had we not snapped one of the timing chain guides that juts right out of the top of the motor. But because we did, we had to order a bunch of new parts, including a new timing chain guides, and new timing chain tensioners. This also meant that we had to take a lot more of the car apart, including the entire front of the engine. Putting the car back together was difficult. It had been a couple weeks in between taking it apart and putting it back together, because I was doing college and my friends had life going on. But we were determined to get it running. So after some late night motivation, a couple of monsters, and way too many all-nighters, we were finally ready to try and start the car.
That's perfect.
We couldn't believe it started. All of that work in that moment paid off. We were completely and utterly vindicated. Sure, the cats were still clogged up with coolant, so it smoked a bit, and there was a bit of valve tick, but that's just 20-year-old car problem. What mattered was that the car ran, and it ran pretty smooth.
After the head gasket was finished, I quite foolishly figured that my car would need no more work. It was in good enough condition to just drive for the foreseeable future. So I got straight to modifying it. I threw some catless headers and a Borla exhaust at it, which made it sound a lot better and drive just a little bit quicker. I also threw some coilovers and some slotted and drilled brake rotors on it. I even manual swapped it. Now, unfortunately, the trans that I put in was a Getrag 5-speed out of a junkyard, which means that my second gear was crunched. But that's besides the point. I still don't regret a single thing. Aside from that dead second gear, the manual swap brought a whole host of issues that I couldn't even begin to imagine would have popped up.
My factory 230,000 mile engine mounts were already unhappy, and with the consistent clutch dumps and abuse that I put it through, they decided to let it go. After those went, I kept thrashing the car because, well, let's be honest, I was going to replace them anyway. That ended up doing a lot more damage. It took out the bracket that holds the engine mount in place, it took out my trans mounts, it took out my Guibo, and my center support bearing, meaning that I had a lot lot more work to do. On top of that, with the engine moving around so much, the fan on the front of the motor decided to hit the shroud that's supposed to go there and blew up into a million pieces, punching a hole in my radiator and cracking yet another expansion tank. This sprayed coolant everywhere within my engine bay and shorted out something and killed the alternator, leading me to be broken down while writing this exact video.
But now that it's back together, I can finally drive it. So is all that work worth it? Well, I really think so. This thing drives wonderfully. One thing that I really like about this versus some other cars is that BMW kind of keeps the power steering pretty heavy. Because of that, it feels like more than just a lifeless appliance. It feels like something that lives and breathes. Between the intake, the coilovers, the brakes that I've added, and everything in between, this thing just feels so alive. And it drives so good. The only thing more responsive in this that I've felt is a Miata with coilovers and grippy tires on it. But that's supposed to feel like a go-kart. This feels like a slightly bigger go-kart, and it's a lot quicker. That being said, it is still pretty wimpy. It's not super powerful, with only 235 crank horsepower from factory. Given that mine's 22 years old and has been beat to hell in the back, it's probably making even less than that. The only other complaint I have outside of the power is the open diff. Now, you can still get it sideways, that's for sure, but the open diff does make it a little bit harder to do so. To combat that, I did swap in a lower ratio diff, and I will be welding it eventually, but with the shorter gearing, it's a lot quicker around town, and it's so much fun to just bang through the gears. And I think it's perfect, because I can go through first, if I can get into second, I can go through second. It's fast enough to be fun and slow enough to be legal. Another thing that I love about these cars is how great they are for motorsport. Recently, I attended a drift event and got to go for a couple ride-alongs in some of these E46s. Afterwards, I asked them a couple of questions, and just to give me their thoughts on the cars. So here they are.
Emmett, this is my 2004 BMW 325i.
I'm Christian. This is my 2002 BMW 325 Ci. They're great cars, you know, super budget friendly, great for getting into the drift scene.
Great community. We met each other randomly. It's pretty cool. I'd definitely say the E46s, I can definitely walk around the track, find any other E46, any other BMW, and find a friend.
Very close-knit community of guys with the E36 and the E46. A lot of cheap bolt-on mods, coilovers, intake, exhaust, welded diff, and you're out on the track.
You're good to go. I definitely put quite a few miles on this car. I love daily driving it to the track. Definitely one of the more cars that I see daily driven to the track.
Yeah,
you see a lot of BMWs that will actually drive out long distance and go to these tracks. And I think that's awesome. Keeps it cheap, keeps it reliable. I love it. Having these cars is a really cheap way to get in.
yeah, and there's tons of them on the salvage yards, you know, you can find them anywhere.
Lots of parts. Overall, I'd say my experience with my 2004 is great. I love driving it, and I'm willing to put thousands of more miles on this thing. I'm ready to take a picture of it.
2 thumbs up.
Now, no matter how the car drives, it is still a 20-year-old BMW. So how's living with it? Well, if you look past the reliability, it's surprisingly great. Even in the early 2000s, BMW made the embodiment of a driver's car. The dash is well designed and does a good job of keeping me in the Christmas spirit year-round. The climate control and radio are pointed just slightly at the driver, making it feel like the car is focusing directly at you. All the buttons and knobs feel okay. They've had better days, but to be honest, they're 20 years old, so you gotta give them at least a little bit of a pass. That being said, there is a ton of room, which is great for taller people like myself. I'm 6'5" and I fit perfectly. Even if you don't fit, the steering wheel is adjustable, so there is always at least just a little bit more customization that you can do to make it feel like the ride is for you. On said steering wheel, you have volume control, a radio station or song selector if you're using the CD, you've got volume, and you've got cruise control. You also have a handless talking thing and another button that I don't know what it does because it doesn't work on my car. Moving to the back, the seats are comfortable enough. There's still a fair bit of legroom, but not much as far as headroom goes. And unfortunately, there's no climate control or cup holders back here, making it feel like it's very utilitarian and made for just transporting people. That being said, there are some hooks to put in some baby seats back here, so you can reliably and safely transport your kids wherever you gotta get them. In the trunk, there's a ton of storage space. Enough for, I would argue, at least 2 bodies. And on top of that, the seats fold down, giving you the ability to use your E46 as a pickup truck if you need to. On top of that, right underneath me, there's a compartment for a spare tire, so you'll never be caught lacking out on the road with a flat. Now, was all that work worth it? Well, the first time I drove it, absolutely. What about the 15th time it broke down? Well, for me, yes, but I will warn you, that type of life is not for everybody. Because of how terribly it's been treated, mine, I would argue, is a bit less reliable than the average E46. And sure, it leaks oil here and there, but the more I put into it, the longer it goes between breakdowns. When it's driving, it's a blast. When it's not, it's a pretty okay looking lawn ornament. The steering feel is unmatched, the chassis is unbelievably balanced, and with a few mods, it feels feels like a budget M3 that's been slightly concussed. It's old enough that the parts that break are cheap, and the ones that don't usually break but did on yours or mine are able to be found at your average pull-apart yard, given that there's 5 or 6 of them in any given yard. Maybe that says something about the car. I don't know. I don't think so. If you're willing to work on it yourself, it's cheap-ish to maintain and relatively easy to fix, especially if you know how to turn a wrench. In my opinion, if you can find it in yourself to look past the reliability concerns, the E46 is one of the best first cars that any teen could ask for. Depending on your area, they can be found with relatively low miles and not a lot of issues for $2,000 to $5,000, which for a luxury rear or all-wheel drive car that has good traction control and stability control systems, solid ABS, and a comfortable and manageable amount of power, these are great cars to learn on. Insurance is cheap, and if you drive it like one, you get the same fuel mileage as a Camry from the same year, and you can still go tear up the town and keep up with 350s and most V6 muscle cars from the same era, while at the same time, not looking like a complete douchebag. You're driving a Beamer. You've got class. The ladies love it, the parents love it, and I'm pretty sure that you will love it. Even though it's not the fastest or the most reliable or the prettiest, I love my E46, and I know many others do too. After watching this, would you get an E46? I definitely shouldn't have bought this one, but I can say confidently that I would totally buy it again, and I would definitely buy another one. And that being said, there has been way more good than bad that has come out of owning this thing. There's a great community behind these of people who have helped me rebuild it when it's been broken down, or helped giving me advice when I couldn't diagnose an issue. If you decide to get one, please feel free to go ahead and check out the E46 Fanatics page. They've helped me more than I can imagine. There have been some great people on there. But outside of that, I really hope you guys enjoyed the first video on the Shift Show. You guys have a good one. Thanks for watching. This has been Ryan, and I'll catch you next time. Ryan, out.